Today we take a look at WrestleMania 7 in the history of WrestleManias. WrestleMania 7, of course, in 1991 was based around the main event of Sergeant Slaughter defending the WWF Championship against the immortal Hulk Hogan. It was good guy versus bad guy. It was USA versus Iraq. Well, that did happen because Sergeant Slaughter said, screw the USA, I'm now all for Iraq. And it was one of the biggest heel turns in WWF history and maybe wrestling history when Sergeant Slaughter turned on his own country. And what we got was this epic main event at WrestleMania 7 for the WWF Championship. April 1991, Hulk Hogan, defender of the faith, the flag, and honor. Hogan was, and always will be, the real American. That was Hulk Hogan. The character Hulk Hogan stood for all of that back in the 80s and 90s, and it was so empowering back then for the wrestling fan to see that in Hulk Hogan. And this proves it right here. He's got Old Glory, the American flag, with him there. And he's ready to take on Sergeant Slaughter and win back the WWF title for the good old US of A. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, February 1991. Win a free trip for two to WrestleMania 7. Enter our WrestleMania trivia sweepstakes. Well, that's kind of cool, PWI. Two wrestling fans got to go see WrestleMania 7 on them. I don't know who they were. Maybe there's a write-up in a later edition of the two fans that went to it. I don't know. Speaking of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, they contacted me like weeks ago saying, hey, I get it. We screwed up, pretty much is what they're saying, because they sent out the wrong Pro Wrestling Illustrated year-end award magazines to my area. They said they were going to send me one with Cody Rhodes on it. I haven't heard anything from them about it. I have a feeling they screwed me over, so screw you, PWI. Unless I end up with that magazine, then yay, PWI. But two fans got to see WrestleMania 7 on them back in 1991. The Wrestler, April 1991. Hulk Hogan, the challenges that remain. You see Warrior, you see Earthquake, you see, well, apparently Bruno Sammartino even. But there's Sergeant Slaughter and General Adnan right there. So clearly the magazines were setting up for the Hogan and Slaughter war. Let me fix this a bit. I feel like this is up too high. See if I can put this down a bit. There we go. I think that's a little better. I want to get a good shot of the magazine in here, folks, so bear with me. All right. I think that's straight. Whatever. I'm sure you guys don't care. You just want to see the magazine covers. All right. May 1991. The Wrestler. Only Hulk Hogan can rid the WWF title of the stench of Sergeant Slaughter. So, Hogan wins the Royal Rumble in 1991. But back then, that didn't mean you got a, title shot at WrestleMania. That didn't happen until 1993. But at the time, who else could wrestle Sergeant Slaughter, right? It can't be the former champion, the Ultimate Warrior. He's going to have his own issues pretty soon at WrestleMania 7 that he has to worry about. So Hulk Hogan was the only right choice for this match. That's the Warrior's problem right there. The Macho King, Randy Savage. Inside Wrestling, May 1991. Consumed by hatred, Savage versus Warrior. The bloodlust of ex-champions. Well, if you watched the Royal Rumble 1991, you know what happened. Sensational Sherry asked the Ultimate Warrior in an interview if the Macho King could get a title match against him, and the Warrior said no. So, what happened during the Warrior Slaughter match? Randy Savage interfered not once, but twice. The first time is when Warrior went chasing Sensational Sherry to the back, and Savage blindsided Warrior from the side, and even threw some sort of lighting apparatus on him and on his ribs and ran to the back. Warrior was pretty beat up, goes back into the ring, but he starts to get the advantage again over Slaughter. The Macho King comes down again. This time, cracks the Warrior in the head with one of his scepters. The Sarge drops an elbow, hooks the leg, and 1, 2, 3, we have a new WWF champion in Sergeant Slaughter. So Savage and Warrior were set to meet at WrestleMania 7, but it had to be something bigger than just a title match or a title opportunity, for it was career versus career, as one man would lose their wrestling career after WrestleMania 7. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, May 1991, a WrestleMania 7 shocker. Who is secretly plotting to destroy Hulk Hogan before March 24th? Is it Randy Savage? Is it the Ultimate Warrior? Is it Earthquake? Is it Sergeant Slaughter? Or is it even Roddy Piper? Well, I don't think anyone really was. There was no storyline there on TV about that. That was just clearly a Pro Wrestling Illustrated story to get fans to buy the magazine, and it probably worked back then. Because Hulk Hogan was so popular, you were kind of curious, is someone actually out to get him? June 1991, the WWF magazine, WrestleMania 7, official results and exclusive photos. This is the one you want to get for the WWF magazine if you want to see the photos and the results of WrestleMania 7. And there's a lot of the big photos right there you see on the cover of some of the big matches that happened at that event. So that's pretty neat to see. And I like how they just did like little snippets with the American flag in the background. It kind of really showcases what WrestleMania 7 was all about during that time frame. Pro Wrestling Illustrated Supercards 91, August 1991. This is the PWI version of all the results and the photos from that event. Also from the WCW IWGP New Japan Pro Wrestling show they did or whatever. That they do every year. That was the one where Tatsumi Fujinami defeated Ric Flair for the NWA World title, but not the WCW World title. And if that doesn't make any sense, I'll do a quick, explanation right now of that. 1991, WCW got rid of the NWA name. The NWA was no more. It was all WCW here on out till it closed in 2001. But they still had the big gold belt, which was still recognized as the NWA World Championship, even though they renamed it the WCW World title. So when Fujinami defeated Flair in Japan, because of the legacy of it, he won the NWA World title. So Flair was technically still WCW champion, but didn't have the belt. It was just really messed up. Anyways, Fujinami and Flair in the main event on that one. Of course, we see Hogan and Slaughter and Warrior and Savage there. July 1991, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the war is over. Hulk Hogan liberates the WWF belt from Sergeant Slaughter. Yes, nice shot of the Hulkster on the cover there, bloodied and holding the American flag with the title around his waist. Again, this was supposed to be in a giant stadium. They were trying to fill it with over 100,000 fans in LA, but they said that it was because of security issues, that people were out to try to kill Sergeant Slaughter and his family because, he turned on America and went with Iraq. I think the truth of it is that they just weren't selling tickets then for this event, like a lot of tickets. Wrestling was kind of on the downward slope now in 1991. Like I said, I believe the peak for wrestling really was the main event of February 1988 when Andre the Giant defeated Hulk Hogan on primetime television for the title. And then the downward slope started not too long after that. By 1991, wrestling was still popular. It just wasn't as popular as, 3-4 years earlier. And it had probably a lot of factors to deal with that. The kids who were young then are now getting older, or because they have other interests now, or maybe Hulk Hogan's run was getting old and stale. There's many factors that could probably contribute to what was going on with why wrestling was becoming less popular in 1991. But I don't know. It's just the way it was at the time. But here we see the Hulkster with the title. And here we see a program magazine I was waiting on because this is incredible to see. It's from WrestleMania 7, Ultimate Warrior, the Ultimate Victor, Warrior with one foot on Savage, looking up to the gods up above, the Warrior gods, as referee, I'm guessing it's either Dave Hebner or Earl Hebner. I don't know which one was roughing at this one, counting the 1, 2, 3. And the Ultimate Warrior would keep his career, while the Macho King Randy Savage would have to retire. thus becoming the Macho Man Randy Savage at this event because he reconciled with Miss Elizabeth, who was sitting in the crowd. And we had a feel-good moment of the Macho Man pretty much turning babyface at WrestleMania 7 at the end of that match, hoisting Elizabeth up on his shoulders and doing the old school pose that we were so familiar with them doing in 1988 and such. So pretty cool moment if you're a Macho Man fan or if you're a Warrior fan, because your guy won. He was going to continue on, right? So that was kind of cool. The Wrestler, August 1991. If Sergeant Slaughter said, "I'm sorry," would Hulk and the world forgive him? Well, that is an excellent question, but we kind of already know the answer to that. We did. We did forgive him because it was later on in 1991, a little bit before Survivor Series 91, where Slaughter went on Superstars and Wrestling Challenge and all that and said, "I want my country back," because he realized he messed up. He chose to go to a different land and become one with that land, and the Americans were very, very hurt by it. But like all wrestling fans, we are probably the biggest gaslighting fans you could ask for, because these wrestlers will turn on us and crap all over us and say horrible things to us. But if they ask for forgiveness or turn around, we like, yay, we love you again, right? We did that all through our childhood and teenage years when with the guys that we were fans of. It's ridiculous how stupid we were to quickly forgive a wrestler for being a villain and a bad guy for a while, right? But we did. We forgave the Sarge, and Sergeant Slaughter became a good guy, tag teaming up with Hacksaw Jim Duggan to take on the likes of the Beverly Brothers and the Nasty Boys and such. Actually, looking back at that time period, it would have been kind of neat if the Sarge and Duggan had a run as tag team champions, even for a brief moment. But I know they, LOD were tag champs and they lost the belts to Money Inc. and they kind of rode the Money Incorporated train for like 2 years with them on and off again, holding on to the tag titles. But the thing is, if Money Inc., they lost the belts to Natural Disasters, they lost them to the Steiners, they won them back just like that. They could have did a few weeks and gave the Sarge and Duggan a reign. I think that would have been kind of cool, but oh well. And well, that's it. That's all of them. So WrestleMania 7 doesn't really have a lot of footage that you can look at, right? It just doesn't, because, like I said, wrestling wasn't as popular then. And, that's nothing against wrestling in general then. It's the same old stuff. Everything you saw in 1991, it hasn't changed since 87 when wrestling was at its peak, but it's just things were different by 1991. I think that stuff that Vince thought would work didn't as well as he hoped. For example, yes, Hulk Hogan, the Real American, always going after the villain. That worked in 1984 and 85 and 86. Remember the matches against the Iron Sheik or Nikolai Volkov, or Killer Khan. So he always had a thing with, like, we got to go after the non-American. For some reason in wrestling, if you're from a different country, you're automatically a bad guy and a villain. What a crazy world it was in the 80s, right? Where that was perceived to be normal. Nowadays, you can be from anywhere and be a bad guy, and it doesn't really matter because they don't kind of play out on those storylines anymore. And but yeah, so 1991, it was a different time for that, I think. And I get what Vince was doing. The original storyline, by the way, was going to be, it was going to be, let me just get them here if I can find them. Because this is funny. This could have been what we were looking at right there. So the story goes, I'm so glad that this magazine actually came in that lot. This worked out perfect now. The story goes is that Tugboat was going to turn on Hulk Hogan and become Sheik Tugboat and be from Iraq and win the WWF title, I guess, from the Ultimate Warrior. That is the story. I think Bruce Pritchard said it. I think other reliable sources within the WWE community said it too. That was Vince's kind of like, his plan was to have Tugboat become Sheik Tugboat. let's be honest, Tugboat was better off becoming Typhoon and tagging with Earthquake and being the natural disasters. That seemed more fitting than Chic Tugboat. That just seems ridiculous, and I just don't know what Vince would have been thinking with that. So that could have been the main event of WrestleMania 7 right there, what you're looking at, and that would have been god-awful, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. There's no way that would have sold tickets. I mean, it would have, but it wouldn't have sold the amount of tickets that it did with Slaughter and Hogan. And unfortunately, that didn't even sell a lot. But oh my God, that would have been just a disaster. Good thing Vince didn't do that. Good thing he got the Sarge when he did in the WWF. Sarge came back in the summer of 1990, and that's when they got things rolling there. And it was good to see. Good to see this match instead than Tugboat and Hogan, right? Let's be honest. So let's talk a little bit about WrestleMania 7 too before I close this out. A lot of interesting things. One of the opening match was the Rockers against the Barbarian and Haku. It was an amazing match. The Rockers finally get their first victory at WrestleMania after losing at 5 and 6. You get the only WrestleMania appearance of the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, as he defeats Dino Bravo. You get the debut WrestleMania appearance of The Undertaker as he defeats Jimmy Superfly Snuka. You get that blindfold match with Rick Martel and Jake the Snake Roberts. You get Power versus Power with the British Bulldog against the Warlord. Let's see, what else was there at that? Oh, the Nasty Boys winning the WWF tag titles off the Hart Foundation. This would be the last time Brett and Jim were tagging up until probably summer, where they had a match at Madison Square Garden, a one-off, where the Hart Foundation fought the Nasty Boys one last time, but were not victorious. The Nasties kept the belts. And then Brett went on to do a singles run as Intercontinental Champion against defeating Mr. Perfect and such. We saw the Legion of Doom destroy the team of Power and Glory in 50 seconds or something like that. The Mountie was there. He defeated Tito Santana, thus helping Tito create that sweet magic of losing every WrestleMania match on pay-per-view except for WrestleMania 1 where he was victorious. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, fought his bodyguard Virgil after Virgil had enough of Ted at the Royal Rumble and became a babyface and punched out DiBiase with the $1 Million belt. And Roddy Piper was at ringside with Virgil, but Piper had a knee injury. I think he got in an accident or something, so he was on crutches. Demolition, Smash and Crush fought Tenryu and Katao, two Japanese wrestlers who were victorious over Demolition. Crazy how just a few years earlier, Axe and Smash was dominating, winning tag titles at WrestleMania and retaining tag titles at WrestleMania. And at WrestleMania 7, Smash and Crush get destroyed by two unknowns, unless you follow Japanese wrestling, and a lot of fans there didn't. You can just tell by the reaction that Tenryu and Katao got. Mr. Perfect defended the Intercontinental title against the Big Boss Man. Boss Man was victorious but did not win the title. Greg Valentine lost to Earthquake. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much all the matches. I might be missing one or two there, but I think that pretty much sums it up. WrestleMania 7 was a very long event too. It was 3 hours and 45 minutes, if my memory is correct, because I had the pay-per-view of it. I actually had the legit pay-per-view of it. I still do on a burnt DVD. Hope it still works. We'll see one day. But yeah, I have the full thing, including that weird thing in the middle where they were like talking about should what do you call it? Man, I just got brain fart. In sports, where you want to watch something that happened again, should that be allowed in pro wrestling? Man, my mind just, I cannot remember what that word is called. I'm sure you people at home who are in the sports are like, this is it, you idiot, this is it. And I just don't remember the word right now I'm trying to think of. But yeah, it's like, when something happens in sports and they look at the video evidence to see if a penalty should be called or whatever. Man, my mind sucks today. I blame it on lack of food. So yeah, but yeah, WrestleMania 7, incredible for what it was. It could have been better, but it could have been way worse. So I think we got lucky with what we got at WrestleMania 7. When you look back at the matches and you look back at the card and where they were headed after that, I think SummerSlam 91 personally is a better show than WrestleMania 7. And SummerSlam 91, I think, was before its time for a lot of things. If you go back and look at SummerSlam 91 and instant replay, there it is. Wow. See, it came to me out of nowhere. Instant replay. That was, they did a video segment at WrestleMania 7 if there should be instant replay in professional wrestling. They had the Bushwhackers acting up and wrecking the tape. It's so weird, but funny. But anyways, back to my original thing with SummerSlam 91 is way better than WrestleMania 7. So if you're going to check out an event in 1991, check out SummerSlam 91. It's much more fun to watch. Some of the matches, like Virgil Teddy DiBiase, happens again. The main event is Hogan and Warrior against the Triangle of Terror, Slaughter, Adnan, and Mustafa. So you get a little bit of WrestleMania 7 with SummerSlam, but SummerSlam just seems like a more fun show to watch overall in general. All right, guys, what did you think of WrestleMania 7? Did you watch it live? Do you want to watch it now? Did this video make you want to go out and watch it? Probably not, let's be honest. But it is okay. It's a good pay-per-view to watch for nostalgic reasons. Like I said, it's a bit on the long side. You're looking at around, I think it's like 3 hours, 45 minutes or 3 hours and 15 minutes. It went past the 3-hour spot. That's all I remember. Because it was one of the longer pay-per-views I had when I was a kid. I was like, wow, this event's going on for way too long. But, yeah. Would you have rather seen Sheik Tugboat against Hulk Hogan in the main event? I don't think anyone would want to see that one. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this one. I still got to do a WrestleMania 8 one. I'm just waiting for a magazine to come in the mail next week, and I'll do that. And I don't know. I could do one on WrestleMania 4, I guess. I haven't done that one yet. WrestleMania 1 and 2, I can't really do one on. I just don't have enough magazine coverage for those. And I think it's just because that was the time then. There really wasn't much coverage back then, because it wasn't until WrestleMania 3 did the coverage really start for WrestleMania. And but I could try to do one on WrestleMania 2. I know I'm missing a very important magazine, though, in that one. And no, it's not the program. I have that. It's the WWF issue where they do the results of WrestleMania 2. I don't have that one. So I need to definitely find that eventually. So also on a side note, the WrestleMania shipper at my Walmart, I went back yesterday. I said to myself, should I buy Axe and Smash? Because I did like Demolition a lot. I had the original Axe and Smash that came out in the Legends line back in like 2010, 11, whenever that was. 10, maybe 9. I forget, whenever the Mattel line started. I think it was 2010. I did have Axe and Smash, the original ones. But I ended up selling them, of course, years ago when I went full steam into collecting wrestling magazines. And I had a lot of wrestling figures. I had like multiples of I had like every Savage at the time, every Bret Hart, every Shawn Michaels, every Ultimate Warrior. I had them all. But the problem was that I got too OCD about it. Because in my mind, I thought, I have to have them all. I have to get this. I have to get that. I have to get this. And a lot of times it came really hard because things were only available in the United States of America, at Target or Walgreens or something. And those stores just aren't in Canada. And a lot of those stores don't even ship to Canada. So it just seemed kind of like I was fighting a losing battle in that. So I said, you know what? F it. I'm selling them all. I'll use that money to fund the wrestling magazine collection. And I did. And it worked out pretty damn good because I have a lot of wrestling magazines, as you know. But I ended up getting the Click for my birthday gift this year from a buddy of mine named Zeke Zanzibar, because he knew I loved the Click. And so I did. I had all 4 guys. So it's kind of like I had those 4 guys already years ago. Like I said, I had every Razor Ramon, every Diesel, every Shawn, every Triple H, well, not every Triple H. I tried to just do up to like 99 with him. I didn't go past that, but anything from the 90s and 80s, I pretty much had. So I was like, oh, cool. I might as well get the 1, 2, 3 Kid too to finish off the Click. And I did. And I was pretty content with that. But like I said, I saw Demolition. I'm just like, man, they look cool. It's like a throwback to when I bought them originally. So I ended up buying them. And I'm going to start now a little collection of wrestling figures where I'm just going to buy one figure of a guy I liked and was a fan of back in the day, meaning one Warrior or one Hogan or, one Jake the Snake Roberts or one Roddy Piper or, I want to do that. I don't want to go overboard and just say I need to have this, because because that's when it gets overwhelming, and that's when you start wasting money and spending money way too much. And I'm just not going to do that. So it's going to be a fun little hobby I'm going to have every once in a while, where if a new figure comes out and is easily available on, let's say, Amazon or at my Walmart, or, on a Canadian toy store that's selling them, I'll probably pick them up. And just something fun to do if the magazines are running dry and I don't have much to collect at the moment. Also, the LJN's over there. Warrior's gone. Bundy is gone. But and one of the Austins in the black card is gone. So there's one Bundy left and one blue card Austin the last time I checked yesterday when I was at work. And so we'll see how long they take to sell. But yeah, but like I said, someone bought Bundy, someone bought the black card Warrior, and yeah, good for them. Good for them. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this one, and until I do my next one, I'll talk to you later.